Hi everyone. As I said in the other video, I'm now going to review A Testament of Youth. I've never actually reviewed a book for fun before. I've always done a book critique, a historical book critique, which is a little different. I don't get to talk about how I feel about the book. I don't get to talk about my personal experiences, my personal experience reading it, which is really interesting to get to do that. Testament of Youth is Vera Brittain's memoir of her experiences as a nurse during World War I and how that war affected her for the rest of her life. I had some free rein on which books I read for my class, and a friend recommended that I read this one, so I went ahead. When I set out to choose a book for this course, I didn't realize that this one was going to be 660 pages or that I'd have to read it over the course of just 4 days. Although I study World War I and World War II, I have never connected with a book as much as I've connected with this one. The stories of history, especially military history, are the stories of men. I think those stories are essential, but it's also essential to get the stories of non-combatants and the story of women. Reading Vera's memoir, I connect more with her than I have with anyone else whose memoir I've read. Like Vera, I'm a feminist, college-age, female, middle-class, very driven student. Of course, I knew on an intellectual level that people like me have existed all throughout time. But it's a very different experience to know something and to experience it on a visceral level and to find out emotionally have this connection with her. Usually women and non-combatants are the minor characters in soldiers' memoirs. It's hard to believe that their struggles were real, and it's hard to feel for them. It's hard to have empathy for someone who only gets a few lines in another person's story. But she really brings the war alive for her in her non-combatant role as a nurse. And I think that is so essential to understanding the entire complex nature of World War I. But not only does she talk about her role during World War I, she also talks about how it affected her for the next 15 years of her life. She laments that most of the young men her age whom she would want to marry had been killed during the war. So she built a career for herself as a writer. I think the key element of this book is that she takes what we know is true from history and makes it felt with her story. As a historian, I do know what happened to which groups of people and why those things happen, but what I didn't know before reading this book is the effect that those events would have on each person. I wouldn't know the difficulty she had reconciling marriage and possibly children with having a career. I didn't know the difficulty she would have with reconciling being married after 30, and I didn't realize the difficulty that she would have reconciling having a family in her 30s rather than in her 20s. Testament of Youth by Vera Brittain is a very good book. I highly recommend for anybody who wants to flesh out their understanding of World War I. It's a really well-written book. I also picked up one more book yesterday. Zoe recommended that I buy a Jeeves and Wooster book, and so we picked this book up. Kind of looks like a children's book. I don't know how I'm going to like it, but she says that it's good. It's kind of little. It's got bright colors. It's mostly dialogue. I started watching the TV show. I did like the TV show. If it's anything like that, I'm sure I'll like this one too. That's all I have. See ya.